Catherine, released as part of this journey as well and going to the hospital, shared a social media statement about sort of her time and the importance of being part of this community there and what it meant to be back. And at one point, someone said going through the front entrance instead of the back entrance, which is very interesting because obviously, for many, I don't want to say many years, but during her treatment, she would go in via more of a closed off entrance. So people would not know she was there because obviously she wanted to keep her journey private. And I guess she sort of mentioned that to people that in some ways, what people do when they have something like cancer and go through chemotherapy treatments, especially in sort of an open concept like Catherine had there at Royal Marsden. It's an opportunity to talk with other survivors. And Catherine really couldn't do that in the same way others could. But let's look at her statement here. It's on X and obviously Instagram as well. She said, I wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you to the Royal Marsden for looking after me so well during the last year. So this is a confirmation that this is where she was treated. We were not sure where she was being treated. So this is the first time she's actually confirmed that to us. She said, my heartfelt thanks goes to all those who have quietly walked alongside William and me as we have navigated everything. We couldn't have asked for more. The care and advice we've received throughout my time as a patient has been exceptional. In my new role as a joint patron of the Royal Marsden, my hope is that by supporting groundbreaking research and clinical excellence, as well as promoting patient and family well-being, we might save many more lives and transform the experience of all those impacted by cancer. It is a relief to now be in remission, and I remain focused on recovery. This is also the first time she has confirmed that she is in remission, which means her cancer is sort of at a stable point or there are no signs of cancer overall. So obviously exceptionally good news, because when they announced last year she was done with her chemotherapy, they were very clear to say she was not in remission. So it took a little bit more time to confirm that. So we do now have that confirmation. As anyone who has experienced a cancer diagnosis will know, it takes time to adjust to a new normal. I am, however, looking forward to a fulfilling year ahead. There's so much to look forward to. Thank you to everyone for your continued support. C. So she signs it with a C, which means it's very much a personal statement there. And I think this is really a sign of how things will probably look in the future, which is that I think Catherine will take things a lot slower. And as well, I think because of this cancer diagnosis, we don't know still what type of cancer that she had, but she will still be being monitored for the rest of her life. So this very much changes in some ways her future prospects, because she can't just go back as if everything was fine and normal. It's like, oh, everything's good. This will impact her forever. She has scars now that she didn't before between the surgeries. And a bit of new news that we learned as well is that Catherine did officially have a port put in. So this is a chemo port that usually is directly in like the jugular vein, essentially, and it usually sits sort of on the shoulder here. So this is something I had wondered about, maybe even speculated about, because she had raised the neckline of the dress she wore to Wimbledon. As somebody else pointed out on X as well, she had the big bow that was put on to one of her dresses. It was a way to camouflage the port. And so she mentioned to one patient that she was hesitant about having it removed, which I thought was kind of interesting. That is like almost like she grew a bit attached to it, or it was scary because not only is it probably a bit painful to remove, but she's probably thinking, am I ready? Is it time yet? I'm just not sure. It's a very, I think, scary thing in some ways, because you're always wondering, will the cancer come back? Because that is always the biggest concern for any cancer patient is, will the cancer come back? And so I'm sure she was just a bit worried about that and hoping that, of course, nothing would happen, but you can never know for sure. It is a big challenge, a big question. And so definitely something I'm sure she thought about quite a bit. And I think, although this is not confirmed, but obviously I don't think for right now she will probably, you could say, show the scar now, but maybe I'm hoping sometime in the future that she will feel unimpeded and feel comfortable with a neckline that might show the scar from it. I think much like Princess Eugenie showing off her scoliosis scars, I think there would be something empowering about that. Of course, it is Catherine's wishes, desires, whatever she might have. It's up to her if she wants to do that or not. But I think that would be actually very, very cool. And just another interesting piece of knowledge is that the Royal Marsden was the first hospital to have a specialized cancer ward. And its very famous former president was actually her mother in law, Princess Diana. So, just to be clear as well, even though it was announced that Catherine and William are joint patrons, he did not actually come with her on this visit. And you can see here the Royal Marsden Hospital. So she quipped that this was the first time she had actually walked in the front door instead of usually using the secret back entrance. So they were very, very careful to conceal that that was where she was getting her treatments, that she was able to stay safe and everything. And I think that's really, really amazing. So, and as Kay said, scarring is a journey. It has a power and beauty. I'm still learning that every day. Yes, I think not saying that would happen right now, but I'm just hoping it would be really cool and I think very powerful of Catherine if she feels comfortable when she's at the process where, because it is a long process seeing the scars, knowing you have these scars and everything, that when she gets to the point where she's like, "Oh, okay, I got it. I feel comfortable now." She might be able to share that with us. I think that would be really amazing. And so she also said to one patient, this goes back to her experience that was, you could say, mostly private because of her very famous profile. She had to be really careful because you don't like it's sad to say, but you don't know. Even in that situation, you might get somebody who's sort of desperate and more than willing to sort of reveal things that were said in confidence. So she really had to do it privately. And she said, I had to do it privately and quietly. But being on a ward like this has to be reassuring in a way. Everyone said to me, please keep a positive mindset. It makes such a difference. And then she also spoke to one patient, and I like how I think it was it was a different bit that the Telegraph shared, but I like this bit where she shared with somebody that they needed to dress warmly, or that's at least what she did because the chemotherapy made her feel cold, which I thought was really interesting. And I guess towards the end of her treatments, she always said, I really felt like I needed to get the sun. You need loads of water and loads of sunlight. And then as she was sitting with the patient, I think it was Catherine who we saw earlier with the cold cap, or it might have been somebody else. The machine started beeping as the treatment finished. And she's like, oh, I know that beep. And I love how it's a very personal thing. And the Telegraph sort of caught up with this on one particular comment after an intense discussion. Catherine responded, oh my goodness, with a grimace. And they said her reaction was as someone who knew exactly what was really going on, which I think is sort of amazing. Is that one of the things that we have here now is a princess who has been through these thorough. And so when somebody shares a story with her, she's like, I know that. And although William and Harry have been able to do that with the loss of their mother as well. I think because cancer hits so many and it's something that people both young and old go through and is a really big challenge that she is able to share this really personal connection to this process, and I think that's really incredible, and I think that it makes her more empathetic as a royal, and it makes her able to, I think, better connect with people in a lot of ways. She also hugged a woman, and I was kind of confused because it described this woman as somebody whose daughter was going through treatment, but then you can see she has an IV, so I don't know. I was a bit confused by that. And Catherine said, I wish I could do more. It will get better. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. So, in response to the whole visit, the palace said, this is Kensington, the princess wanted to make the journey to both show her gratitude to the incredible team, but also highlight the world leading care and treatment the Marsden provides. Today was about visiting the Marsden to reflect on her own personal journey. And so she also talked about that sometimes in order to get through this whole process, it's really focused on finding joy in situations. And I really do love that because you have to find the joy, not only in the big things of life, but the simple things as well. And something like a cancer diagnosis really does make you, sort of reframes your mind into what is going on and everything. So it is just very, I think, encouraging for people to see her, but also encouraging to know that she's gone through something really challenging like this. And I think it makes her, I think, endears her more to the people. So let's go ahead and watch this video. This is from the Royal Family Channel. And I thought this was really a sort of a great synopsis on the whole visit. We'll have to pause periodically for copyright reasons and those sorts of things, guys. But there she is walking in the main entrance here. So I can't totally make out everything she's saying, but I think she's excited to be there and very, very excited to see everyone. And I did forget to mention two things. We got Angela Dawn, who's been a member for 14 months. Real royals show up and do good. They do. And they do it with an air of humility. I was actually thinking about this, and the idea just came to mind, and I wrote down is that I feel like everything Harry and Meghan do is with a sense of pride, whereas royals, I feel like especially Catherine embodies the feeling of humility. And so I think that is portrayed so much better. Then we also have Chris, who's been a member for 17 months. God bless Princess Catherine. Yes, oh yes. I'm really hoping that, again, she's on the mend, that she doesn't have to deal with a recurrence or anything, but this will definitely be a situation she has to deal with for the rest of her life, unfortunately. So let's keep going here. So there's obviously some nursing and hospital staff and everything. So just in case, because I know there'll probably be some naysayers out there, she's just sort of waiting for them to sort of direct her to who has been, they probably asked the people as well, but they wanted their confirmation of who she would speak with. So this is where most people would be getting their chemotherapy treatments. Obviously, this isn't what Catherine experienced. She was in her own private room, I'm sure. It's probably somewhere in the recesses of the hospital just to preserve her privacy during this difficult time. So
I'm sorry to bring everybody. That's the most distraction. When she first started to December, so treatment. How are you finding it? Awful.
So she mentions, she's like, how are you finding the treatment? And the woman responds tough. And she's like, yeah, I get it. I get it. Because I think definitely in March, you could see in that video where Catherine announced her treatment that she was struggling a bit. And I think it really did. I mean, and you combine that with a massive surgery, 2024 was really rough for her. So I love how Catherine, you can pick up some of the conversations, some of them you can't. Some of them they'll ask later, hey, what did you guys talk about? But this felt like very a personal and very much, you could even call it a healing journey for Catherine as well. So again, very sweet, very much a situation where she can empathize with what they're going through. And although there's a lot of cameras, I think, and this particular gentleman, I believe, if I am correct, he is the one who said that she made him feel like he was the only person in the room. So even though there was cameras around them, I'm sure photographers moving around, she very much kept the focus on the patients.
So we appreciate it. It's got really, really tough. Lots of family members. That's kind of where you're just trying to invest. There's no money.
So if you missed a little bit of that, this woman complimented Catherine on how she and William handled the children. And she said something to the effect of, and I don't think I wrote down that particular quote, she's like, thank you. We tried our best. And I think that's a great way to put it, because there's no roadmap for this really. Every child responds differently. Every family member responds differently. And so there's just a really, it's a challenge.
There is, I was just saying earlier, there's sometimes treatments so varied, so different. It impacts families differently, patients' recovery so different, everything. So actually, you think originally.
So she's talking again there. If you didn't catch it, because it's very soft, because there's not a microphone right in her face, talking about how the cancer affects everybody differently. There's a lot of variations in treatments, and now even family members respond. So it's definitely comes from a very personal place.
The treatment because so it's like it's not. I think sometimes.
So I believe this gentleman she talked to here really encouraged him, because I think he's had some remissions and stuff, and encouraging him as he goes through his treatment process.
The outside world who hasn't it's hard to so easy for
And so this was an interesting interaction here, and I did want to go back to my social media profile here and find this real quick, because the woman she is posing with is actually someone of note here within this sort of cancer community, I believe, in terms of she's part of an organization. She's part of EGFR Positive Lung Cancer UK, and has said this morning our non-executive chair Angela Terry met the Princess of Wales. Angela was at the hospital for treatment when Catherine arrived to thank the staff for the care she received during her own cancer treatment. They had a warm conversation about EGFR plus lung cancer and the work we do to support people living with it. Catherine was genuinely interested in hearing about our community and encouraged these pictures to be taken. Her official photographer even captured the moment too. Not the kind of hospital visit Angela was expecting, but definitely one she won't forget. And so that is the woman she is posing with right there, in case you are curious. So I thought that was a little interesting tidbit, and I'm glad I caught that, and now I've seen the video, so I see that as well.
I was going to go into the office.
And obviously, that's obviously not confirmation what type of cancer Catherine had. Just putting that out there, because some people may draw too many conclusions from that. But it was a very sweet interaction, I thought.
Denise, who's in charge of refreshments.
Very important job. Yes, I find actually. Thank you so much.
And so when it comes to hear that kind of feeling of humility I mentioned, Catherine's first response when hearing that this woman is responsible for refreshments is, does everybody have what they want? She's not asking for herself. Her first response is, well, do you all have everything? And I feel like that came from a very genuine, automatic place, is that her first response is to think about others. And then she is asked if she wants something, and she's like, I'm good.
Yeah, maybe after. I'll spell it otherwise. The work that's going on is so broad and varied. And I think we all roles represent that in so many ways as well. So it takes place on a daily basis, like research.
So there's a lot of research that goes on at this hospital. So I'm sure her and William will be focused on that quite a bit. And I can see a good portion of the early years project being given to potentially trying to help families who have had a recent cancer diagnosis. So I just thought that was very exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing, because many have criticized Catherine and William for not moving in this direction sooner, but this is sort of a healing process. I'm so glad, again, we didn't have to wait for the BAFTAs, because that would have been, I think, mid next month. And that seems like a long time. I think even 1 or 2 engagements per month would be awesome, just to sort of get her back out there. But this is definitely a journey. You can tell she's like focusing on this as a long-term journey. How does she make sure? Because we don't even know what type of cancer she has, what the remission rate is. And so she's definitely focusing on keeping her health. That is her biggest concern.
This is actually there where everyone feels like they're in the same boat. You know, everyone's commented on how fantastic this is.
And then she gets to meet a therapy dog. Don't we all love that?
Hi, Nikki. Very nice to see you. Who's this? Scout. Sit. Give me a call.
I love it. She interacts with the dog so well, and dogs can be obviously a great uplifting aspect of going through these journeys. Dog, are just so sweet and kind and just able to sort of lift somebody's spirits. He gave the paw. I don't know if you guys saw it, but he did actually give her his paw. And what you gotta love about animals too is they don't really care who you are. They don't care about your status. They don't care about anything. They just want hugs and loves and treats. And so I just find that really, really sweet. I thought this was really sweet right here. So you got to wonder, and I just want to put that out there. So, you have all the staff there. And I got to think now, I imagine she met with her own private team personally to thank them again. But you got to wonder too if some of them are maybe in that crowd there. Just curious. So the amount of cameras there is quite intense. I think it's quite crazy. So again, just curious if any member of her team is there. I'm sure they probably are.
How's it going? Have you just had it? Okay. And also you can feel the draft. Everyone said after this treatment, careful. Yeah. Okay. Stay strong, okay? It's lovely to meet some of the patients.
So I really liked that interaction. I thought that was really, really amazing and wonderful. I was confused whether or not this is a woman whose daughter is sick. It seems like she's the one who's sick. So I'm just not quite sure. I think the article I read, in particular that referenced her, wasn't super clear. So, anyways, love though that she's able to comfort people again from this very personal perspective. And this is not forced. I feel like this is very natural. So, not super exciting. She's getting ready to leave here. And so there's a couple things here to note. Two that I found sort of interesting is that number one, she's still actually wearing sort of the lower heels, so the 85 millimeter instead of the 105 or 100 millimeter. So I'm fascinated to see if maybe because of this treatment and maybe because she's like, you know what, screw it, she's not going to go for the super high heels anymore. Very curious, just because I always find those things that women choose kind of interesting. Where they're feeling how their fashion style changes and everything. The other thing I want to mention, which you can't totally see here, I'll try to find a picture of it real quick, is that Catherine was actually again wearing her eternity band set and not just her engagement ring in the eternity bands. So guys, I would love if I could do this a lot, is actually going and following a royal engagement in this way. That would be the dream all the time, but that's not what RNN gets to do quite yet. So lovely that I believe this is a subsidiary of ITV that gets to do this. Oops, sorry. We shall keep watching it. I think she waved again. Okay, so not super exciting, but you can get actually a good shot here. No big blue. So she is wearing, it looks like 4 eternity bands. So the 2 we know of, and then her new diamond one and diamond and sapphire one. And so I think there too, that decision reflects her desire to actually go to the hospital the way she would before. So I think during her treatments, and I'm sure this is definitely something that we see, is that she decided to, and I'm sure with William's help, because she can wear, her engagement ring is quite large, is that they decided to go ahead and go with a eternity band set. And so I feel like by going there with that set, she's just reflecting the fact that that is how she entered that building every time she went for her treatments, was wearing those rings. And so I think it was sort of a symbol to wear them again. For this particular, I mean, we have seen her on more quiet engagements. I think, wearing her big engagement ring, but I think we'll see the eternity band set a little more. Wendy, thank you so much for the tip for this video. Catherine seems to sincerely listen to people. She does, and that's what royals are supposed to do, is they're supposed to listen. They're supposed to be there and listen and hear, and what they can do with that is bring the plight of the people to the attention of the media and the attention of government officials, saying, well, I see this and people are talking about it. So let's see potentially if there's changes that could be made. Now, they can't enact policy, but can they maybe behind the scenes influence things? Yes. And so I think that is a great way that royals work. And not to bring them up really, but it is a stark comparison when you think about it. Harry and Meghan talk at people a lot. They don't talk to people, they talk at people. And so that's a very different way they go about it. And so we have Monica. Thank you so much for the tip as well. True empathy. Princess Catherine is beautiful inside and out. I'm sure she will get healing from this in some way. Yes, I think it was a very cathartic visit. I think it was a great visit for the first of the year. I think that was especially smart. I think it brings back everything because it was about this time it was announced that she was going to have a major surgery. And so to bring this back and start sort of where she started in a way is kind of, I think, a good full circle moment. So instead of, again, going into the back door because of secrecy, because she needs treatments, she's now finished with her treatment and she can go through the front door as a patron and really talk with the people, hear the men and women and their stories, and move forward from there. So I think that's an absolutely fantastic way to look at it. So I believe that's pretty much all we have from the rest of this video, because it's pretty much at the end here. She goes off in the SUV. So it looks like some press had arrived there as well, because not all the press got to go in. It looks like I think Christopher Jackson was the only one who was able to go in. So that's not a surprise though. Like events like that, they're very small. So you can't bring a ton of people in because there's, you have to think of the patients and the treatments they're getting and everything. And you have all this medical equipment. You can't like get there's not as many wires as there used to be, but you can't get the cameras and all this stuff and the gear caught in the equipment. So it's very different to how they have to do it. So I did just want to share though, you can see right here is her eternity band set. And I think in other pictures you can tell like there's a bigger diamond eternity band than the one she originally had. And then the one William gave her after Prince George was born, and her original wedding ring, which is in Welsh gold.